Hello and welcome. This is not a video. These type of videos won't come out frequently, I gotta say. This is probably the first and the last one you'll see on this channel, but at a certain point I had to make it because I've been a huge fan from the beginning, from the beta, not beta, but the release of Warface. Not only it was a major part of my life for like 9 years straight, 8 years. I have like more than 4,000 hours on it. I played a lot of Warface during the years. It's been like 3 maybe years that I didn't touch the game. But yeah, I played a lot of Warface, especially the European one and sometimes the Russian server. As some of you might already know, especially looking at the title and the thumbnail, or even just the news overall, the game is closing. It's closing after 12 years. 12 years of terrible decision making from the team. Not the developers, but the team lead, the project leaders themselves. Overall, I want to just talk about the game in this video. The ugly, the good, the bad, what could have maybe would have been done in a better way, to keep the game alive and not to kill it with every single decision that Mail.ru was doing. The Crytek sold the project to the Russian, which was a pretty nasty decision. It was a spit on the face of the player base. And people that already knew Mail.ru operated, they already knew what would happen. And I knew what would happen too. Uh, because you don't need that much brain cells to actually follow what would be the end result of Warface, European Warface. So overall, I just want to go over the game at first, the good, what was interesting, the good old times that I had, the systems that were interesting, fun to play, things that kept us going, logging back to the game, playing hours with friends, with the clan wars, the amount of hours of grind in PvE, special missions, PvP, ranked, and all that. I just want to kind of reminisce at first, like talk about the good old times, nostalgia kind of, and then I'll slowly transition to the bad side of the game, what killed it, and what could have been done better, to not kill the game. And from that point, I want to kind of slowly maybe transition or try to keep in between of critiquing, but probably trying to provide some amount of solution that I, as a player, after 8 years of playing the game, think would have helped. I'm not trying to insult or disrespect any of the developers. Thanks for the entire Warface team overall for like keeping the game alive for such a long time. The main complaints aren't really about the developers. It's more about the project leaders, the monetization side, the people that decided the content and all the events and all that. It's more about the responsibilities that they had, because just the devs themselves, they are not the main decision makers. They just respond to a certain demand, and that's their job. Whoever is responsible for killing this game, fuck them, because they are like pretty much money hungry bitches. At a certain point you have to say what you have to say. You have to just state facts that some decisions that knew only how money worked, and just really like the green color of a fucking $10 bill. Holy shit. It's yeah, I'm going on a tangent. I'll stop. As some of you already might know, the game came out in 2013, end of 2013. That's around the time I started to play. Around more than a little bit, like a couple months after it came out, like 2014, middle 2014, something like that. And from that point, I played for like 8 9 years straight, like pretty much with small breaks, nothing too that long, and I remember the good old times where we had the ancient menu, where we had the ancient shooting range, uh the freaking old graphics, old menu, the freaking pleasing Warface 2014. During 2014, you had the good old overlay right here. Yes, if you can check, you can see the good old map, the same freaking health bar. I mean, it seems to be the Russian server, but yeah, it looked kind of like that. Not only that, but you had like pretty much it was another game. It was seriously another game. I just want to see, because I remember that the shooting range on the EU was something else, was not the same as on the Russian, if I'm not wrong. You had the good old ending menu right there. As you can see, good old ending menu. You have the old achievement on the old maps. Holy shit, Hangar, my favorite map. It does not change. But yeah, at that time, it was a pretty simple game. When it came out, there was nothing like that, you know? And the fact that they were able to slowly mix PvE missions and PvP, not only that, but have a interconnection between the achievements, the missions, the weapon, the equipment set that you could get from playing PvE, the crowns that we had at that time. And some of you might remember, but at first, when Crytek had the entire project in their own hand, uh, the random loot boxes were not pay to win. You could buy them with dollars. It was kind of expensive, makes sense, you know. But at that time, there was less pay to winning, you know. And the boxes, you could actually play the game, do missions, get dollars, and try to get your favorite weapon without pay to winning, without using your credit card, which at that time was a freaking absolute banger. The main reason why, because the amount of time that you were spending on the game was kind of, you had a real reward, you know. Because if you really thought about it, at that time you would sit down, get dollars, and compete with any other player by just getting dollars and like trying to get the same weapon as they, you know. There was still the side of like pay to winning. You could buy dollars. You could open the boxes just by using your credit card, if I remember correctly. And it was not that bad at that time. It was not something that was a huge like floating problem that everyone knew with the game. The boxes were literally could open them with dollars in-game currency, not the credits. Credits were something you actually had to buy with real money, which is which yeah, which was not that bad at that time. Not only due to the fact that from your free time, the amount of free time that you used, your own time that you invested and played, it was rewarded kind of in a balanced way, you know. You could play the entire game, get dollars, try to get your favorite weapon, play with the weapon, have fun. Let's go. You can, and it's amazing. It was amazing, you know. And at that time, we had not a huge collection of weapons, but the fact that it was a FPS RPG where you could grind weapons, equipments, missions, achievements. It was amazing. You had the good old achievements. At that time, I remember achievements were a real thing that people actually respected, because even if there was not a huge selection at that moment, like in the good old days, certain achievements would demand respect. You know, some amount of grind. I mean, there was a huge amount of grind for some of these achievements that when you saw in game and you knew what that achievement, the condition for that achievement was, you would just know that that person grinded, and it was something interesting. You know, you could compete with other people, try to get your banner, the icon, and all that when you load in. I know it was not something like groundbreaking, you know, groundbreaking, something like amazing or whatnot. For simple people like me, were able to actually look at the achievements and be like, holy shit, this guy have like 500 wins in like free for all, you know, chaos. So it was nice. It was a really nice mechanic concept that was in the game, and it was just really good, really really good. And as you can see, at first when the game came out itself, around July. I mean, it's on Steam. That's middle 2014, so a little bit later than the opening. But you can still see that the player count. It's not the correct number because it's only on Steam, but it's a good rough estimation. You know, you had a pretty nice player base, 7K players. It's not some like small. It's not something small, and we gotta say it. It's not a small player base, a player count. But the issue is that slowly you'll see a trend right here. You know, after a certain point around 2018, 2017, and all that, when you have a certain switch, there's a events that happened that justified the increase in player count. And there's other parts where the decrease in player counts made sense, and it was something that was literally deserved. Literally deserved. It's not just due some bad luck or that people just stopped playing or they didn't care. It's just certain actions, certain decisions that led to this fucking downfall, as you can see. If you just slowly go here, a fluctuating player base makes sense. It makes sense. 4K, 6K, 7K, practically 8K, that's nice. That's really nice. Then you start to decrease right over here, you know, like that. For me, specifically in my situation, I'll try to recount some of the events that were major and freaking that fucked up the game. That fucked up the entirety of the game, the fairness, like the fact that you felt like you are not rewarded enough for your time, you know, and you had the impression that you are just a walking wallet, you know, and you had the impression that the Warface just cared about the fact that you would pay to win, and that's all, you know. It's not about your experience, it's not about your fun, it's not about the community, the player base. It's not about all that, you know. It's just about if you pay or not on the game, if you buy credits or not. And as you can see, after a certain point, it's just start to not be lose all the popularity. It's slowly but surely every month you can see that it slowly dwindles. Like 2024, 23 already, you can see that from the 1,000 players, we're straight up going just down. Like this period of time, it makes sense, you know. This all makes sense. I would say that around 2020, 2019, from that part, from the beginning of the game, kind of makes sense. Because if some of you remember, plus for the addition of the fact that we had free to play loot boxes with the dollars, but guess what? We had something else. Damn, wait a minute. So interesting. There was at that a certain point we had a auction house, and you can imagine. Okay, now we should be able to. Yeah, we can see. We had at that time a auction house. You could buy certain of these weapons with no, not certain of the weapons, but precise weapons that other people would sell. As you can see, the freaking Calico, legendary weapon, the Black Tavor and the Calico. In the beginning of the game, you had a couple occasions to get those weapons. It was automatic sniper rifles. Guess what? At that moment, those type of weapons were legendary, you know? It was something scarce that you could not get. And that's something I'll get into later, because all that scarcity and all that legendary feeling and reputation of those weapons were destroyed. Slowly but surely. But yeah, that was a small tangent. But at that time, we had a auction house. Auction house. That is wild to think about right now. An auction house where at that point, if I'm not wrong, you could farm, grind for your weapons. Later, you could, if you're lucky and you drop the weapon that you want from the loot box, you can sell it on the auction house. And with those credits, you can precisely try to buy a weapon that you wanted. The Carcom. Black Tavor. If I'm not wrong, that's the Black Tavor. That's a legendary automatic weapon. There's a couple players that had it. A couple. The BT50 at that time, this shit was rare and scarce. Carcom SMG, same shit. Those were these. I'm not sure about this one, the AC7 SMG, but those fucking weapons are fucking from such a rare weapon, scarce weapon you would not be able to get like from just every day, you know? Like 9 years ago, if you go back to example Swiss videos, as you can see, guess what? You could open the boxes with dollars. This is a wild sight to think about in 2026. This is wild. Just looking at that shit, it's a wild feeling. And thanks for the people who made videos and content about this game, because that shit, if you didn't know or played at that time, you would have never known. You would have the impression that Warface was pay to win from A to Z, so from 0 to 100%. Like, that is wild. That is wild. You go back here, it's so many old memories. The X308, that shit was a fucking banger. You go back to the old times. I'm not sure if you have any videos about the old shooting range or whatnot, but god damn, this is some old memories. This is such an old time, as you can see. And not only that, but you had custom games for only pistol, for only knife, and that shit was a banger. People would just sit down, play for an hour of only knife, only katana, jack commando, kukri. It was kukri, I mean. It, it's a wild time to think about. And that game Warface from 2014, 15, 16, 17, it's a lost memory at this point. And at that time, even if the game was small, not many people, make sense. The player base was not that huge, it didn't seem that active. But guess what? When you were rewarded for your time, for your patience, for just overall the time that you put in the game. Look at this shit, the calico. Looking back at this is a wild thing to see. This is wild. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the freaking auction house. But at that time, you had not loot crates, but if I'm not wrong, if you go back here, um, this was a period of time where shit started to change drastically. I'll explain why. There was a very good part when the game started with especially Crytek. Like I said, I'll just go back to the roots themselves. Not only the free to play side was amazing. People would wake up, play with other friends, play with clans, do PvE missions, special missions just to get dollars, grind every single day to get more and more dollars so that you can open the boxes and pray that you have something in there, a permanent weapon. And that time was amazing. You were rewarded for the amount of time that you put in the game. Makes sense. And that not slowly, drastically changed when the game was sold to mail.ru, my.com. But guess what? Overall, at that time when you had new missions, uh, like restricted equipment, not restricted equipment, how could I say, a pack of like a dedicated equipment from the Earthshaker mission. You had weapons from that collection, and not only the game had a huge mix between the PvE, like I said, the PvE, the missions, and the PvP through not only the achievements but stats, content, equipment, and all that. You had Pripyat, you had Earthshaker, you had the HQ, the freaking Black Shark Tower too. You had the freaking special operation. We had Black Shark, Anubis, and Anubis. There is some. I'll get to it later with the events and whatnot. You had really good missions: Earthshaker, Cyber Horde, Cold Peak. That was amazing. Zenith. You had Ambush, HQ, Tower Raid. It was amazing. It was amazing. And not only that, but the map selection that we had in the old days, we had pretty good content. Some people would complain at that time that it was not enough and whatnot, but the mix between PvP and PvE, and the fact that that you had a little bit amount of like events time to time, it was really nice. That's really nice. But if you go back to the roots of not only the maps, Warface maps, I just want to look back at them because honestly, it's such a shame. So many memories that will disappear. You have, yeah, damn. When Pripyat came out, it was such a fucking good map. It was such a good mission. I had Icebreaker. Uh, if we go back to the good old collection, uh, yeah, I'm looking at the Russian resources because sometimes the European and like international wikis are not up to date and they do not look that great, honestly. But yeah, you got Hanger, my favorite one. It's such a good map, simple but good. Afghanistan, I don't remember this one, honestly. Just House, what the fuck are those? Runes? The fuck is that? The freaking mobile? Never mind, it was the mobile shit. So if we go back, goddamn, where the fuck is the site that I had to check the maps? Um, yeah, here. If we look back, we had a very good map selection with different mods. You had the assault, capture the flag. You had the plant and defuse, plant the bomb. I mean, you had team deathmatch. You had free for all. It was a nice, it was a nice time with nice mods. No, there was some amount of diversity that people could play. It was really nice. And guess what? All those freaking mods had dedicated achievements to them too. If you won like 100 games of Storm, you could farm certain achievements, and people would know that you play Storm, the game mod itself. If you won a ton of team deathmatch, same thing. There was, if I'm not wrong, dedicated achievements. If you played a lot of Plant the Bomb, you had achievements. Same thing. And not only that, maps had their dedicated achievements too. It was such a simple concept, but it was nice. It was really nice. We have a good selection of maps. Certain was Dogwater, certain was really fun. Black Gold, the old one, was fucking amazing, but the second part was not that great, honestly. The first part that we had, it was pretty nice. The first capture point, and the second and the third, not that great. Bridges, very simple, fucking annoying because it was always in the map rotation of the fucking ranked and all that. District, not bad as a map, but holy shit, it was repetitive at a certain point. Dock, not that great. Downtown, it was a start of a more of a complex map, and it was really nice. Especially in Team Deathmatch, it was a really nice map. I think that those type of maps were a lacking resource and content on that game, like on Warface overall. Farm Sunset, same thing. Amazing shit, amazing map, especially during the night because it's a totally new feeling and you do not on the game you didn't have that many night maps. So when it was night, you felt kind of weird, It was kind of special. Forest, god damn, this map was fucking boring. High Heel, it was a pretty nice map for Storm. But the third point, holy shit, it was annoying. Invasion, one of my favorite assault map. I really liked it. I still do. Oil Depot, terrible map, terrible map. But it was so freaking on Team Deathmatch. It's constant, constant. Overpass. Unluckily, it was a pretty fun map, but dog water at certain points of the map. But yeah, overall, I mean, depends if it was free for all or plant the bomb. Plant the bomb was kind of boring. Free for all was a little bit more interesting, but still kind of annoying sometimes. Towers, I like that map, especially the destruction game mod was not that popular. But yeah, that map was really nice. Yeah, train, nothing great, nothing remarkable. It was a map like any other. Wharf was a freaking amazing map for Storm, especially the first point where you especially the first point where you had so many spots for snipers, close corners for medics, a ton of good positioning for every team, every team. Enemy on the attack side or defense side. It was really nice. It was one of my favorite map in terms of Storm game mod. White Street, it's the most frequent for free for all. I do not hate it because I played it so many times, and especially the fact that I really liked free for all. Hanger, my favorite team deathmatch, it won't never change. And then we have events, I'll talk about this a little bit later. Yard, it was not that bad. Um, I really liked it, but it was kind of annoying and boring if you played it too much, and that's what happened overall frequently. It was too, like really too frequent sometimes. Lighthouse, it's not that bad. Honestly, it's not that bad, but god damn, so I can't really complain. Lighthouse was not that bad. In the middle. Convoy, I never understand this map. I don't know. It was kind of fun time to time, but not something that would be playing frequently. Deposit, one of my favorite deposit map, capture map. It was a really nice map. It was close quarters though, which didn't leave that much space for snipers. But that's why it felt a little bit different, because it was like kind of restricted in some parts, and that was not bad. Long way, yeah, mid. Factory, one of my most, I would say, a good design for plant the bomb, and what like 8 out of 10. Wait, 8 out of 10. Pretty nice. I really like playing on this map. Not too frequently, but it was pretty nice. Crossing Dogwater, it was an attempt to have a foliage and like nature-based map. It was There was an attempt. The execution was nice. The end result was not that good. Destination, goddamn, this shit was so freaking. It was so fucking boring at a certain point. It's a really nice map, simple layout. It's nice, but shit, it was annoying. When it was like constantly on this map. Construction, one of my favorite capture mod. It was not that frequent. I gotta say that was a huge bummer. And I think if I'm not wrong, the achievements that you could get from playing this map looked pretty nice too. Palace, mm, I would say that it's on top with the other map that I really like for playing the bomb. But like I said, no, it's not something I would play like every time. D70, that's a map I would play 24/7. It's one of my favorite map for Planet of the Bomb. Maybe the favorite one, the first one. Codename codename D80. Uh, Codename D18. It was a really nice map, especially during the night. I think that's this only second nighttime map that you could actually play on the game. It was pretty nice. Simple design, pretty good. Shuttle, I don't know what to think about it, honestly. I never understood what to really think about the map. I'm not gonna say it's dog water or like trash, but I'm not gonna say it's good. Motel for team deathmatch was pretty fun. Free for all, in the middle high, not that bad. Armageddon, yeah, that was a horrible map. Horrible map. Sub-Zero, I really liked it for the domination, but at a certain point it tends to get kind of boring. A Breach, I really like that map constantly, even if I played it kind of rarely. It was really nice. Grand Bazaar, uh, yeah, in the middle. Mojave Hunt. Not that bad, not that bad. But it was kind of too big. Kind of made sense because it was during the night. If it was a little bit bigger, it would have made sense, especially during the night and a little bit more obstruction and whatnot. But yeah, it was a good attempt. Yeah, like I said, pretty good maps. Pretty good maps. Uh, Now I want to more talk about and overall, if you honestly look back at that time, uh, in terms of map content, we were kind of lacking, I would say. There was attempts to kind of change, but still keep kind of a simple layout for everyone, so that it's like balanced on both sides. But I think it was one of the main thing that uh, slowed them down, in terms of like content quality and diversity. There was a good attempts on certain maps, but I would have really liked to see more diversity. Open maps, bigger maps, smaller maps, maybe restricted maps where you had to actually adapt to the map. Maybe different layouts, not always the most like balanced. That's not an issue. Especially when it's just in a public lobby and it's not ranked. Because if I'm not wrong, I'm pretty sure that, yeah, especially the fact that with ranked, there was a lot of restriction in terms of like which map you would get. It was a lot like only Plant the Bomb, and if I'm not wrong, I might be wrong though. I don't remember if there was Blitz where I had to defuse the bomb. I think there was Blitz in ranked, if I'm not wrong. Like those type of maps in capture, the freaking Brazilian map, I really liked it. The fact that it was from top down and you had to actually adapt to the map. It was really nice. Same thing with the fortress. I don't know if it's called fortress, but the layout was different. It was not like the most balanced map, but it was pretty fun to play on. Quarry, I never liked that map. That's it. That's all I have to say. Launch, I never knew what to think about it. It's not that bad. It was kind of fun time to time, but not something that I'm a fan of, you know. Towers, like I said, really nice map. I really like the layout. It was kind of like big, you know, a little bit more on the complex side, but still kept a simple layout there called. Motel, the hotel, you know, like this one, I'm not like I never really liked it. As Oh, never mind, never mind. That's the one for team deathmatch. It was pretty nice, like I said earlier. The one on the Japanese thingy, the Japanese map, I forgot the name. It was pretty cool, especially free for all. I really liked the layout. It was really cool to play on. Bunker, I think it's Mamba, if I'm not wrong. I mean, right here is free for all, but mm, it I mean, even for free for all, it was pretty nice. On this one, I'm not sure that I played. Africa, this one was kind of abysmal. I never really liked it. Siberia, uh, it's one of the like survival mod map that I really enjoyed. Yeah, we had Blitz right here. Bila, Bank. Yeah, I never really liked the new map, the Bank. Residence, it was a really cool map for Blitz, and especially in the New Year edition. We have the we have the oil deposit depot with the freaking Euro 2016 edition. Really nice. And overall, we have a ton of maps, but I don't want to like go into every single one of them. Quartal, this one, I kind of liked it, you know, for Team Deathmatch, but we had a pretty good selection and collection of games. Of maps, I mean. But yeah, I want to kind of transition to something else, the events. Not only the events that we had gave us reason to play the game during that event, especially my favorite one during the anniversary, the birthday of the game, you know. There was huge boosters if people remember, and at that time, whenever like that event came with all those boosters, like two times three times four, I don't remember precisely. So overall, not only this was a that at that moment it was a golden opportunity to grind the game. And if people remember, we had a precise event that happened every single year. I mean, there was multiple of them, but the most special one, and I kind of want to transition to the events part of the game, you know, because that was one of the main reason that forced people to come back to the game at a certain point and grind, give a reason to grind a little bit more, you know, and especially the fact that when it was, if I'm not wrong, a good chunk of them actually gave restricted like weapons collections during Christmas. You had the icicle, you had a couple of weapons, equipment that was precisely from that period and locked to that period, you know. Not only that, you had the Halloween, you had the game anniversary, you had the war thingy, I don't remember precisely the name, Veteran Day or some shit like that. I'm not sure. I want to talk more about things like the anniversary because at a certain point, it was one of the main reason for people to come back and grind a ton. Why grind a ton? Because during the anniversary, if people remember, we had huge boosters, huge reward boosters. If you remember, those boosters, depending on the year, could be times two, times four, times six, and I think the highest one times six, if I'm not wrong, or four. I don't remember. And during that time, people would actually play the game, buy the VIP to have a maxed out rewards by the end of the missions, and people would just assemble, rush through Anubis, and before getting to the last part, they would just like abandon, surrender, not surrender, but die, so that you can cycle the games pretty quickly and grind a ton of experience and dollars. And at that moment, those type of times that we had between clans, friend groups, and all that, it kept it it kept the game alive. Not only it gave a like a reason and a feeling that the game was alive, but it gave a reason to actually grind, and it felt rewarding. You were like, there was only one day during the year, and during this day, we gotta grind. We gotta grind. We cannot let go of this occasion. It happens only a year, so people would actually gather up, make lobbies full for Anubis, grind that for the entire day, practically 24 hours, to grind their levels, get dollars, get all that. And it was amazing. It was amazing. If you looked, where you had anniversary. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's the recent one. I'm not wrong. This is the one. Yeah, server rates, as you can see. Dig in crazy 5 times server rates. Warface dollars EXP experience. 2 times rate for, yeah, this is the things that I'm talking about that were amazing. This was amazing. This gave a golden opportunity for people to log in back and give a feeling that the game was alive and performing well. And not only that, it gave a reason for people to assemble as a community. It was amazing. Those type of events, that was amazing and pretty nice. And as you can see, all the menu, all the weapons, we had a limited collection of weapons, especially for the anniversary. We had scarcity for a certain amount of the equipment. And all that is amazing. As a player, when you give lore to the weapons, scarcity, and it's not just a forced scarcity, just to make people pay, but it has a certain amount of lore behind, a reason why it's like why it is like it is. If you go back, that's only 6 years, 8 years. Yeah, 2018, the second one. I remember that guy. So overall, like I said, during those events, we had huge boosters for the rewards, and people would just assemble to play together, grind during the day, grind for their accounts, grind for a second account. It was an amazing period of time. Same thing with Christmas, Halloween. Not only the game knew how to reward people, but I mean, it was kind of sad that certain of the equipment was, I mean, during the last years, especially not during the like early period of time, like these last years when the last years that I played personally, those events were lackluster. It was pretty disappointing. There was the same equipment dedicated for Halloween, Christmas, and all that. It was nice, but if you could not get them permanent or for a good amount of time, it was not worth grinding for it. What do I mean? Example: during the Christmas event, when you have the icicle knife, this is that was at a certain point a rare melee weapon that not everyone had. Not everyone had this, and this was amazing. All this like scarcity, dedicated weapons and collections to certain events. It was nice. It was amazing. But what was kind of lacking, I would say, was the fact that if every single time it was grindable, you could grind for those weapons, for those special weapons, it would have been really nice. But guess what? That was not always possible, which was kind of disappointing. But people still played because you had special maps, like let's say for New Year's, for Christmas, there was the hangar. My favorite map, the freaking you go here. If you go here, guess what? 2017, let's say. Let's go check this one. The good old hangar map for Christmas, as you can see. Good old map, man. Amazing map. It felt special. New Year, especially when you had snow where you live too. It felt like the game was was from real life, or the inverse. But yeah, it was so fucking fun. It was amazing, and there was, if I'm not wrong, if I remember correctly, those maps had dedicated. How do you call that? I forgot. Damn, I forgot the name. Yeah, they had Easter eggs. If I'm not wrong, there was something on Anger. You had on Oil Depot. Because was it Halloween? Not Halloween, but Christmas maybe. I don't remember. You could shoot the freaking Santa or something, and he would react. It was pretty nice. Same thing with Halloween. Halloween had a dedicated map. They had a dedicated map. It was a farm, and it was pretty nice. Halloween, where the hell it is? Wait a minute. Yeah, right here. If I copy this and we go back, Warface, go here, let's say 2018. And those are old memories, amazing memories. And with these events, it was just amazing, Wait a minute, not this. I want to see not the freaking American neighborhood map. 2015. Ooh, the good old Stechkin, APS, Stechkin. Amazing banners. This guy has a big D. This guy with the AK, the FY103 at that time was called. Amazing banner. Amazing banner. It was worth actually farming for it, grinding for it. The good old design, the good old feeling of these graphics and like the loading menu, amazing. And luckily we lost that. That Halloween map, amazing map. Oh, goddamn, it's a new one? I didn't remember it too. I mean, it's 10 years ago. It's like 2016. Yeah, never mind. I think I just had mixed up something. But yeah, pretty nice map. And like I said, all these events were amazing. It felt amazing. If you just looked back, events would just go into the news or whatnot, to check, to be sure to follow them. And people would wait for these events. And then we had the battle passes, we had the freaking special maps with the limited collections and whatnot, where you had to do quests and whatnot to actually get the weapons, if I'm not wrong. I forgot the name. Yeah, absolute power on all, and like where we would be able to absolute power. That's the one that I was searching for. We had special events like these. If you look back at them, how to get battle points and all that, it was amazing events that gave a reason to actually play constantly. You had quick quests and whatnot. You were be able to actually like hire people to go for missions, and those boxes would actually yield something. Loot boxes, I mean. It was kind of lackluster, and like kind of sad sometimes, because those missions did not give back enough. They really did not give back enough. I'm not saying that people should get like every single piece of the content and whatnot, but when you didn't have time to play 24/7 and whatnot, you were just like missing out on like 90% of the fucking mission, and it was freaking bad. It was really, really bad. But yeah, we had special operations, special operations. I don't know how you call these, but we had absolute power. We had something else. We had three of them. I remember that there was three of them. I had this one, Berserk Battle Pass. I remember this one when it came out. I played during this one too. But yeah, you had a ton of those events that gave a huge reason to just grind the game constantly, 24/7. Sit down, grind, grind, grind. In some cases, they were really good. In other, they would not return enough, and it felt like you were like grinding for forever to even get a single piece of interesting content. But yeah, like I said, the main problem at that moment was that there was not enough events, or some of them did not feel that rewarding. Anyways, I'm not gonna say that it was the event part of the game was really bad. It was nice. In my opinion, it was nice. I'm not gonna complain and say that it was really, really bad and it should have been totally redone and whatnot, but no, it was nice. A little bit more content would have been great and amazing. And like for scarcity, special one-time events that would give you skins or like special weapons, that would have been amazing. People would wait for the events to come out and grind it. But yeah, it was less and less happening, and it was freaking getting boring. But yeah, like I said, in terms of community, events, and all that, that was the main reason why the game still stayed alive. You have to say that when I think it was 30 people or 50 people max in a clan, I don't remember. But when people would join a clan and try hard during clan wars, something that is not so frequent now. I mean, I didn't see that much in the last couple of years. Clan wars where people would sit down 5v5 in a room. I think you could even do 10 against 10 different mods, if I'm not wrong, for clan wars. And it was amazing. Clans would fight other clans to get more points, monthly points that would get rewarded. The entire clan would get rewarded for playing. And it was amazing. It's community work. The community feels alive. The player base have a reason to persevere, to play, to grind. That's the main reason why it stayed alive, the community itself. But I kind of want to talk about the weapons and whatnot. But I would say that in terms of weapons, in the early stage and in the old times, the weapon part was pretty interesting. You had four classes, all those classes had dedicated weapon types, and those types would kind of differ. For snipers who had one shot, automatic, semi automatic was nice. On the rifle side, you had it's not the Tavor, it's the Enfield. You had the burst weapons, automatic weapons. I don't remember if weapons that would just pop up one time in the shop. You had one chance to get them, and never ever after the Calico, the Black Tavor. If you go look back on like these weapons, Stellar Scout when it came out, it was meta. It was amazing. Tavor Star, that's the one I'm talking about. This one's the free to play one. This one, the black one, it was a huge opportunity to find someone in the game, and when they died, to pick that weapon up and take a screenshot. That's how rare it was. This view was not that rare, honestly, not that bad. If you go back up a little bit, if I'm not wrong, the MK14 EBR was kind of rare too. not on the Black Tower level, but yeah. You had the Chaitak. And in the old days, you could get it permanent. After a certain point, it was removed from the shop. Calico, same thing. Rare weapon. That was a legendary weapon, man. Would be just blessed enough if someone had it and it dropped after dying, and you could pick it up to even test it out. AX for 308 when it came out, it was banger. It was amazing. It's one of my most favorite weapon. It was so freaking. The feeling with that weapon was amazing. The AS50, I think it was called BT50 in the old times, if I'm not wrong. This thing, if you had it permanent, like the Calico and the Black Tower, you were a legend. You were a legend. Same thing with XM8 Compact. This one was rare. Tower Star, same thing was rare. Um, and overall, there was weapons that were just really, really rare. Chris Super V at that time when it was a banger, it was such a good, good time. But yeah, comment your favorite weapons. Would really like to talk about that with people. USAS 12 medic weapon. This shit was rare. It was amazing and rare. This is an amazing weapon. What the fuck? It's right here. There's a ton of weapons. There's a ton of weapons. God damn, the ranked was annoying when people had the DP12 when it came out. Same thing for the rifle. I also like the RPK. I don't know why people didn't play it that much, but it was sad. Same thing with the Pecheneg, the PKP. Uh, PKP, it was really nice. A really nice weapon. The M60 permanent, I think it was not something you would see every day. M204T, this one too, if I'm not wrong. This one, there was the free, I mean, in the old times, the free to play rifle weapon. If you actually wanted to have somewhat of chance against people, I'm pretty sure that the Type 97 in the old times, this one was rare. Would not see it every day. MSBS Radon free to play variant for for people who wanted to kind of compete, but it was not that great. Oh my god, the old time where the M16 was meta. God damn. Imbel, same thing. I don't know, people played this one. I never really liked it. This one was one of my favorite. It was a really weak weapon, but goddamn, I really liked the design and feeling to play with it. Galil was mid. This one, FN Scar H. The Scar H normal in the gold edition was a rare weapon. If someone had that in the old times, holy shit, it was a legend. It's wild times. This one, when it came out, it was such a wave. The burst weapon, no recoil, no nothing. It was amazing. Like I said, all those weapons, there's a huge amount of weapons that were just really rare. Cycle, I don't know when you would be able to get it. I'm not sure when it came out. Repesh, my favorite knife. Katana in the old times were really nice. The Kukri was so freaking so freaking fun to play in knife only games. Jacko Command the same. Icicle, amazing. Hammer was a pretty rare weapon, really rare weapon. I'm not sure if we would be able to get it permanent. Cleaver, same thing. I think it was you would be able to drop it permanent in the event. But yeah, pretty nice weapons. The micro desert deagle, yeah, deagle, the Valentine deagle. This one was pretty cool too, but I'm not sure if it would be. There was a couple events where you could get it permanent. I never got it. But sure, gun glove. You could get this in a permanent state too. I don't remember in which event. Same thing with the Christmas firecracker. It was pretty nice. There's a huge lore of like the events, certain things that you would be able to drop, not drop, all that tralala. I don't know about what else could I talk because I went over the auction house, the beginning of the game, the fact that they mixed PvE, PvP together, special missions, and all that. It was really nice. On the community side, before I finish this segment, I gotta say that it was really nice when you had custom games with only knife, only pistol, or people just had fun in custom games. People played the rank. But yeah, overall, if you actually think about it, it was amazing. It was amazing time, amazing missions, community play for everyone. It was so fucking fun. Now I wanna transition to the segment where I'm gonna heavily critique the game, the very bad decisions that were done, that destroyed the game. And it's such a painful experience or even talk for me because I was a huge person, like the main person who every year said, if we want a proper Warface in a proper state, in a proper condition, we gotta let it die and revive itself. A new one. I knew this time would come, but not in this form. I would have expected everything else, but not this. Every other finish, every other closure of the game I would have shut down, I would have expected. This one is a lackluster shutdown. A lackluster shutdown. It's a shameful end to such a huge project. And why it was shameful, I'll explain. In the beginning, where we had Crytek managing the project, it was nice. There was a huge feeling about free to play, being rewarded for your amount of work and amount of effort and time and all that. But guess what? Guess what? Warface, Crytek sold to MyCom. MyCom. Damn. Warface gets a new publisher. 2017. Guess who? The Russian devs. Mail.ru. And you know Mail.ru? Their Warface was plagued with pay to win. Because those guys in those, like their culture, there would be people working the entire month to pop the entire, like half of their freaking salary in the game and pay to win every single month like that. There was people who were freaking poor, and I remember there was a huge drama with a lot of people in the old times. Well, when I was following the Russian side of the freaking game, Warface. Russian side, there were people that were poor, but they would still put 100,000 rubles in the game. 100,000. That's 1,000 euros, and their salary at that point was not something like 1,400 or 1,200 euros. Depending on the spot, it's time to time it can be 400 euros, 700, depends. And some of them were not even working or didn't have a stable condition. Guess what? Guess what? Their culture, the Eastern culture, Russian culture, and the European culture, gaming culture of like anti-pay to win, that would not mix. And they started to think that, oh, guess what? I mean, Crytek closed the auction house. That's another story. But we are gonna put the freaking loot boxes for credits. You will have to pay to win if you want to compete in a competitive game where it's all about your performance and killing each other and winning. If the differentiation and the main vector for your win influence is your credit card, it's not fun. You don't have fun. It's not enjoyable. The first major part was the transition. 99% of the majority of the loot boxes to credits. That killed the game. Why the fuck as a free-to-play player would continue if you get smashed every week by a new weapon a new weapon that came out? It's already meta. You have to pay to get it. And even if you pay 10 euros, 20 euros, it's not a guarantee that you'll get it. Guess what? 1% chance to get it. It's random. It's random. You cannot buy it directly. But guess what? Even if you bought it directly, in a month there would be another one. There would be another one better than that what you have. And you would be forced every single cycle to pay to win even more to be at the top. I, as a kid at that time, I hated it. I would look at people with my FY 103. They were dog water. They were trash. They were dog water, trash, literal bots. But guess what? They would survive because they have pay-to-win equipment. They have pay-to-win weapons. They can compete because they are 35-year-old freaking no life who paid to wins like 200 bucks every couple months. Yes, paying things with real money on the game to keep it alive makes sense. That's something that you have to actually kind of predict and set up in a good, healthy manner so that your game survives. Makes sense. Monetization. When you sit down as a free-to-play player, when you sit down against the RX 160, couple bullets to the body, especially if you don't have the latest equipment to have the best protection, and you get one shot practically, and the plague, the hackers, and all that played network problems, issues, ping, lag. It was not enjoyable. It was not enjoyable. Yes, people would say, why are we paying PvP then? There would be people, when you actually critique the pay-to-win side of the game, they would say, don't play PvP, play something else, play PvE. I want to play against people. I don't want to play against bots, that's not interesting. There was literally people that were defending themselves because they bought credits for 7,000 euros. I remember that's like 6 or 8 years ago. That guy was saying that it was, I'm a weapon collector. I said, brother, you fucking shut down your screen, you turn it off, your collection disappears. The fuck are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? The fuck is happening to the game? What's the fun in that? Okay, he kept the game alive. I understand there's an argument behind. If he pays, game survives. But that's not a healthy way to do that. It's not a healthy way. He literally sent a screenshot of his Steam wallet where he had his transaction list and it was showing 7,000. 7,000 euros. It's practically a like mid-shape it's a practically a mid-shape vehicle here. A freaking car where I live. You would sit down as a free-to-play sniper. Free-to-play sniper. You had maybe the Orsys T5000. Nice, it's good. I would use the M40. It was a really nice weapon. But guess what? The pay-to-win weapons, they could scope quicker, jump shot you quicker, quick scope you quicker. They had better damage values. You would maybe full hit someone time to time. They would one shot practically every time. God damn, this is boring. God damn, it was frustrating. You know that these people are bad, worse than you, but they survived due to their equipment. Is it interesting? Are you gonna continue playing the game? Will you have fun? To know that the person in front of you is not better than you, but you're gonna lose. It's not fun. I don't know how this game, the people that actually managed the project, were listening to the community complaining about that shit for years now. For years. And they didn't do anything about it. They didn't do anything about it. You know why? You wanna know why? Because when mail.ru got the project, they were thinking, guess what? The formula for the Russian one worked. We're gonna do the same for European one. And I had the impression that they were doing the right thing by having whales on their game. It's not how it works. Russian culture, European culture, American culture, that's three different worlds. Three different cultures. It's not gonna work out. It did not work out by the end. And I don't even need to freaking predict anything. We can see as a real fact, that it did not work out. This is a shame. People that had and managed this game should be ashamed. Especially the mail.ru. And in some ways, Crytek too. Fuck as Crytek, they knew what would happen. They still sold it. They didn't want to take responsibility. They sold it. They were like, God damn, this is trash. We're not gonna freaking tarnish our reputation by keeping this project. Very fun. Very interesting. Pleasing. Amazing. Good job. Amazing. You're right. You're right. You don't want to tarnish your own reputation. That's nice. And in the end, we will never, as a community, as people who wasted dozens, hundreds, thousands of hours on this project, we will never even get a proper response, a proper answer from the people that manage this project. As human beings who lost hundreds of thousands of hours accumulated in general overall, we will never have a response, an answer to why sell, why those decisions, why close the auction house. Yes, I understand that it was probably not the right decision, the monetary monetization system. It makes sense. Maybe learn from your mistake and try to maybe make something else. Try to reiterate. Try out new things. There was auction houses on other games. It worked out. Guess what? Because, okay, it opened the first time. It was not the greatest idea. Guess what? We're gonna reiterate the idea. New concepts. We're gonna try out new things. But no, they wanted the short-term gain, the money. They wanted the money. And I think maybe something that stayed in Crytek's head at a certain point was the fact that, guess what? Our European server only have, guess what? 5,000 max? 10,000 max? Russian one have 130,000 people. Why not making the same numbers? Why the player base so small? Why is the player base so small? If we look back, Warface, Russian player count, 2018. I'm not gonna find it anyway. Fuck it. But yeah, as a Crytek, it makes sense that they sat down. They were like, oh, what the fuck? Wanna have a small player base while the Russian side have a fucking 100,000 of players, or like 3 or 4 times the amount. Yeah, because it's different culture. The same formula, the same recipe does not work for everyone. Makes sense. Yeah, we would see things like that, like Dreamsky. You would see people paying on the game. Pay to winning had huge collections of weapons. Probably, as you can see, that guy didn't even have 300 hours. He had a huge collection of gold weapons. Gold weapons, rarer than the standard edition of the weapon. You sit down, you see that guy have 300 hours and you have such a inventory. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous So Russian side of the game worked out, yes, due to the cultural differences, but the European one does not mean it will work with the same formula and recipe. It would not work. And guess what? It was boring. You know, you would sit down, you would know that when you died was not the fact that you were bad at the game, but the fact that you didn't one shot because you didn't pay for the last weapon that came out this month. You didn't pay to win to get that weapon. And when you try to play ranked and all that shit, if you didn't have the right weapons and the right equipment, GG, good game, good luck. That's nice. No, GG. And it's fucking terrible, you know? And it's fucking terrible. It's not even fun. And that thing plagued the game. And it didn't change, still didn't change. After years of seeing it fucking falling down. Free falling. Years and years. They did not understand. They did not learn from the mistake. I have the impression that the more people you have on the freaking on a project like that, the less smart the project is. The less smart the managing and the direction is, the directive towards they want to take the game. The game was fucking free falling. They did not understand their mistake. They did not learn. God damn Crytek. God damn fucking Mail Touch Guru. God damn. This is wild. This is fucking wild. From that side, the pay to win side, weapon side, same thing for equipment. Same thing for equipment. Same thing for certain events where you had to actually pay to get some amount of return from an event that you would wait for a year to happen. And if I remember correctly, things like during the Christmas or Halloween, there was a huge amount of equipment locked behind the pay to win, a paywall. Wow. Interesting. Wow. From events that had to be grinded and had required you to put in time to, guess what? You want to have this weapon, buy it with credits. Pay to win, man. Go search a job. Go, I don't know, work. And if you want to have a chance to get some of these weapons, please put in like a 10 or 20% of your salary. We deserve this. We deserve that every single player on the server will pay to win minimum 50 euros per month. Minimum. We deserve that. No, never did. And fuck you. Precisely. Not the viewer, but the people that had that in mind felt that they deserved our money. They didn't have to work for it. They deserved the money. And guess what? Due to that freaking mentality, it did not work out. Pay to win, problem, solution. We'll talk about the solution later, but yeah. Same thing for performance. The game performance was not that bad, you know. It was not that demanding. It was not that bad. On the other side, the hackers, the problem I had with hackers, that was fucking annoying. But more on the side of the fucking, guess what? The network performance. Wow. The amount of lag. The people that had fucking red ping that would be able to shot you through the wall. And you would be wondering, how the fuck is he seeing me for a wall? And didn't make any sense. Why am I talking about network? Guess what? It was numerous times where I was in ranked with the red ping enemies. When they picked a corner with a sniper, GG. It's already decided. You know why it's decided? Because they picked first, packets didn't come to you in time because they're lagging. They see you before you, they click on the button, and the game will receive a packet that he shot you first. Even if he's fucking late. How many problems there was with that? How many times did I see in ranked a freaking Indian or I don't know who the fuck from like two continents on the other side of the map with red ping kill me in a microsecond after picking. Microsecond. On my FOV, on my POV, I would see people insta-killing me. A microsecond to react. And there would be people saying, no, you're blaming the lag, it's just you don't know how to react in time. Guess what? At a certain point, after years and years of playing, I would sit down and sometimes stumble across a streamer or someone recording with a red ping. And when I looked at their POV, when they were picking for red ping, they would be able to human react to the pick. Because guess what? When he picked, he did not kill me in a microsecond. He didn't pre-shot that pick or that angle. He picked, he had human amount, like a good amount of like 100 milliseconds or 120 milliseconds or 50 to react and to click and to shoot and to kill the person in front. Me with my 5 bars, fully maxed out freaking network, for me it was a microsecond to react. Genuinely. And that would freaking just make you mad. Not even, and like be like, why am I even trying to compete when it's lost from the beginning, you know? hackers. We had so many hackers in known clans, huge clans, cheating in ranked, and it was pretty sad to see. But you would lose your your ranked placement because you were stumbling across a full team of a clan getting boosted. And the fact that mainly the weapon balance was abysmal too. The weapon balance with the pay to win side was freaking horrendous, especially when you had a weapon coming out every month that is meta, a new meta, forcing people to play to pay even more. You have to pay even more. You gotta pay every month. New weapon, new credit card, new transaction every month. You wanna compete every single month. Please. It's not interesting. It's not even worth it. And then what happened when we had the huge collection of like rare weapons, PT50 or S50 right now, the Calico, the Black Tavor, legendary weapons came out. They put them back in the freaking loot boxes. And at that moment, if I'm not wrong, if I remember correctly, it was not during the period where we had dollar boxes. It was credit. Wow. And I remember precisely the spot. It was when we had the Scar H gold, and there was a rotation, if I'm not wrong, of like old weapons that you would be able to get in gold edition. And it was fucking boring. I don't think the Black Tower came out. I don't remember. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure about the Calico. I remember the Scar H, especially gold edition. I remember that moment specifically in my memory when it came out. Boring concept. Boring concept. Fucking boring. If you have every month to catch up to the new meta of pay to winning to get a weapon and be able to compete, wow, not interesting. Same thing with some out of the decision and communication between the player base and the team, and like the direction and what they're trying or attempting to do. There was a huge lack of explanation why certain things were done that were this way or at this moment. Certain events, why some of the weapons were not present or some of the equipment was not there or was locked behind credits. And it was like, I don't have a precise thing, but after years and years, it's a blurry memory. Because there's someone that just disappears after some like a good amount of years, pretty bad, really bad. At a certain point, they mixed the servers too. You had, if I'm not Chinese, but you had a multi-continent mix with very bad ping. If you joined them, it was unplayable. The quick play menu changed a couple times. There was like game mods that were removed, added, maps removed from the rotation and all that. It was really, really weird. Really weird. But yeah, I don't want to go back into every single minor issues that we had. Certain weapons not doing the right amount of damage, so some amount of equipments that didn't make sense, annoying gameplay changes, and all that. I don't want to get back into that. There was something that was kind of annoying, was the fact that the achievement, the quest side, the daily missions and whatnot, was not expanded on, and it was not really good daily or weekly content, to force people to play. The game lost the huge side of the community-based interaction, like clan wars. These last years, I didn't really see many of them when I played, especially, and it's freaking sad. It was freaking sad after playing the game. Pretty sad. It's such a. I'm like really sad at that moment. Like in real life, I'm really sad. It's a huge part of my life. I mean, it was. So, not only that, on the weapon balancing part, weapon modification and all that, guess what? It came out too late. It came out too late, and it was a fucking spit in the face of the players. Reworking the entire weapon collection with a new system of modification and all that, it's great. It's amazing. It was a good idea. It was a good addition. It was a good balance for free to playing and pay to winning and all that. It was nice. But imagine you actually paid thousands of euros or hundreds of euros in the game, and you come back to the game and you see that your fucking weapon that you paid to get the advantage is now practically worthless. It's on the same level as a weapon that you had like 4 years ago. A free-to-play trash weapon, And it's kind of wild. It was kind of wild. It was really wild to see that they reworked it, but really late. When people had inventories full of special weapons, not restricted, but special dedicated weapons with a lore behind, with a reason why you bought them, why you were playing them, for your own performance and all that. It's sad. It's really sad to see. The rework of the freaking overlay and the menu. Why does it now look like a fucking mobile game? Man, it's so wild to see how the menu rework. If you look back, god damn, it's horrendous. God damn, the fucking menu, it's horrendous. Oh my lord. It was like a fucking mobile game. This shit, when it looked like that, it was nice. It was nice. The old menu, man. Old menu. It was straightforward. It was straightforward. It had his soul. It had its own identity. This shit, I remember this fucking menu. It had its own identity, man. It had its own feeling. God damn, this is horrendous. This is like we're gonna repent the entire fucking game to, to have this modern feeling, you know? Just take what worked and reiterate. You don't need to redo this shit. It's horrendous. The old one was 10 times better. I'm not trying to be like the nostalgic person, like, oh no, old is better always. No, that's not what I'm saying. This had a better look. I mean, not this one. I'm not that fan of this one, but yeah. When it was in between this one, god damn, it looks great. God damn. And the other one right here. It was pretty nice. It was pretty nice. I liked it. And this one was not that bad either. Those three were not bad. They were really good. This old one, damn, this old one, man. Amazing. Easy. Oh, no, never mind. The new one. God damn. Yeah, the old fucking menu, it was amazing. You don't need when you were from the beginning, you were not a basic, you know, like the mainstream game. When you didn't try to be mainstream, to try at the end of the lifetime of your game, try to be mainstream there, you know, trying to modernize the menu. It looks fucking horrendous. The new skins, they look fucking horrendous. Look at that. The redesign was fucking horrendous. The map designs were good. I have nothing to say about it. But the menu, you go into the skins, the old ones. God damn, they're sexy. They're amazing. God damn, this one, the rifleman. Amazing. Those one, the Aurora squad, sexy as fuck. They were nice. Domination squad, same thing, sexy as fuck. Nice. Paragon squad, real simple, basic, straightforward, amazing sexy. Widowmaker, same thing. Arctic Squad, amazing. Exosuit, amazing. Nanosuit, amazing. Ghost Squad, pretty straightforward. Female Nanosuit, banger, amazing. SAS Squad, in the middle, not that bad. Atlas, still good. COS, pretty nice. Grom, looking really sexy, amazing. Absolute, same thing, amazing. Blackwood, nice. Gargona, not that bad. Not that bad, you know. Elite Gargona, not bad. Samurai, pretty nice. Arcanid, a little bit weird, but I'm not complaining. Peacekeeper, good. I got them. There's not the new ones here. Now, wait a minute. The last ones that came out, they are not anywhere? What the fuck? Where's the Wolverine from Marvel here? What the fuck is this? Wrong image, man. Am I fucking lost? I wanna check something. Overwatch, what the fuck am I saying? Warface. I mean, no, never mind. So, here's the thing. Something that I really disliked was the kill streak. Damn, I forgot the name. Whenever you done in the old times where you had a head crusher or skull crusher, the old sound and the old icon design, skull hunter, as you can see, triple kill. God damn, it's freaking amazing. I always liked that fourth kill in the head. Brain Smasher, it was fucking amazing. If I go back to my to my channel, look back into the old edits that I have. Some of them, damn, the quality is low. Yeah, the Brain Smasher, Skull Hunter, amazing. The Brain Smasher, always my favorite one. Brain Annihilator, as you can see, I played some amount, you know, some amount. Dominator, dominating. But yeah, good amount of like Warface grinding. That's pretty nice. Pretty good time. That was 6 years ago. 6 years. I'll just unlist that later. Make that public. Amazing. God damn with that music. Yeah, I'm reminiscing about my prime. I'm not sure if this was my prime, but goddamn, it was fun. Oh my fucking god. The RX 160 was fucking so freaking pleasant to play. I would have never played these pay to win weapons if they had a proper balance, but I was forced to. If you wanted to actually compete in free for all and ranked, good luck about pay to winning. I had even more videos in the old times, but sadly, my dumbass deleted them. Good old fucking game. Oh, damn. Oh, this is old, man. This guy, Je suis moi, 94. This guy had the Black Tower. But yeah, like I was saying, some of the redesign work and like decisions were fucking stupid. Unlucky. It happens, you know. I think there was a last thing that I wanted to talk about, which I mean, we've gone already over the fact that weapon rework and all that modification system and the balancing done really late. Because at a certain point, when you have the reputation that you are a pay to win and that your studio do not listen to the player base, GG, it's already done, you know, it's already lost, which is kind of sad, you know, really sad. On the last part, I'm gonna talk more about the solutions. Okay, I'm back after a couple days. I had to cool off a little bit because I was a little bit hyped up that moment when when I was complaining about the game. Um, at this point, I did complain about a couple things, but there was a huge thing that infuriated me constantly, especially when I was playing in comp and I was tryharding, you know. There is a huge issue that was present in Warface for years and years. It did not go away. It's still here. It's the difference. It's the unfairness in performance, depending on the person, depending on this like context and like setups and whatnot. In the old times, I as a tryhard, as as a person who played for like more than 5,000 hours, and actually is were pretty good at the game. I was not the best, but I was pretty good at the game, and I was constantly trying to get better. You know, as a comp player, there would be other players where they were impossible to kill. I'm not talking because they had inhuman reaction times, inhuman aim, inhuman IQ, battle IQ, and whatnot. Because I compared that those players because some of them were actually making videos or streaming. When I stumbled against them and I was playing against them, there was a huge problem that was reoccurring constantly. They would actually kill me or other players in a inhuman reaction time. And I'm not saying that they had a something behind like on their setups and whatnot. That's not what I'm trying to get at. You know, that's not the meaning behind what I'm talking about. I'm talking more about the game performance and server performance overall instead. There would be a ton of players that I knew after years would be practically impossible to kill if I just want to go from skill against skill, you know. I knew that against certain people, certain players, I had to adapt heavily and sacrifice a ton of like aspects of my gameplay to have even a chance to kill them. Like a huge part of the community where I was able to kill them in a humanly possible time to react, you know, like I think it was around like 100 milliseconds, so 150, you know, and whatnot. It was like 150, not sure, from 100 to 100 milliseconds, you know. It's a it's a normal human range, like reaction time range, you know, it makes sense. You have all the time to react, and it's totally normal, you know. But there would be players where there would be players who are able to kill you before the player body even shows on your screen. I had that problem with so many players, especially the ones that play the tournaments and comps. There would be a select, not a few, but a good amount, like a good amount of players that after years and years of playing, yes, I had a frequent battles against them, like matches against them or with them, where you would be able to see as a factual thing where they would kill you before you even had the time to react. Yes, there is the pick advantage, picker advantage, and whatnot, and all that, but that was not something that was actually present, consistent with other players. That was not an issue that I had with everyone. That was an issue with a certain selection of players. And it was kind of weird. I'm not insinuating that they were cheating or whatnot. Yes, there is players, I agree, the argument with the fact that there is like players who are really good at the game. They have a really good genetic for the reaction time, aim, and whatnot. Really nice. I have nothing to say. You're right, there is, but it's such a small sample of people. Small sample of people, and the main problem behind that, with that too, guess what, is the fact that some of them were making videos, and in some of them I was able to see like factually, I was able to see the problem that I was talking about. The way that whenever I was against them, I had no time to react. But them, but in their situation, whenever they picked or got picked from another player, they had all the time to human react, And whenever I compared my gameplay, my reaction time to theirs, it was practically the same thing. But some were unkillable, like they were not bulletproof, unkillable because they would kill you before you had even the time to react. I'm not saying like you just didn't have enough reaction time, you didn't. Yes, I whiffed my shots, happen, I'm human. They whiffed their shots too. They are human too. They did not get, they don't have the human robot aim to headshot, and I was able to see that on the videos, factually. And it was a reoccurring theme, a reoccurring problem that just infuriated me constantly. I knew that if I stumbled across a selection of people, I had to heavily adapt my gameplay, sacrifice a good amount of aspects to even have a chance to kill them, And it was one of the main things that I just hated. I'm not saying that I'm not gonna do a call out or precisely the players who had that and whatnot. That's not the job of this video. I'm not trying to say, yeah, no, they were bad, they should have lost. That's not the job of this video or what I'm talking about right now. It was just to point out that we had a problem with that on the server itself, And it was something that reoccurred years and years. There would be moments where it was even worse than before. There would be moments where it was not that bad, You had a chance to actually fight against that person. But there would be periods where it's GG. You saw that person against you, it's GG. It's not because he was just straight up 10 times better than you. No, that was not it. He was as human as you. He missed his shots too. He had very bad moves too. That happens. You're human. He's human. But there will be situations where you just get killed without even having the time to react. The enemy body is not even shown on your screen. You're dead. His arm, his body part, their arm is not even shown on the screen and you're dead. Good luck. And it's something that just give a very bad taste to the game, A very good reason, factual reason to just quit the game and never come back. Not only the pay to win side, not only the pay to win side, but that network issues and all that. It was just horrible, horrendous. It was an ugly experience. You did not enjoy. Yeah, sadly, it was one of the main problems that just would not give any reason to continue playing the game. I don't know. It was a pretty small issue, air quote, because it was for select few players. Makes sense. It was not a major issue, but that was affecting people that would be playing frequently for years and years. And that's something that I heard a couple times, not a couple times, but 100 times from different players, from different rank layers, from different skill levels, And that's something that I personally checked too, because by the end of the day, I had people in real life who played the game, and especially friends of my father who played the game, and we did check that on different setups, and that was one of the weirdest thing that I had to witness in a game, that I had to personally witness and live through. It was really weird, but yeah, it gave a very bad taste to the game. You would be just sitting down trying to get your rank done, whatnot. You're performing really well. Boom, you start another match. You recognize two of the enemy players. You know that you're gonna have a hard time because you just get killed before you're even able to react. I'm not talking about my brain. I'm not talking about my reaction time. I'm talking factually, if you recorded that spot and you put 5 people in front of the screen, and you replayed that spot, you would be like, no, it's impossible to react to. It's impossible. But the person in front who recorded that spot, the same situation, when he killed you, and you look at his gameplay, it'd be like, yeah, that's human. That's a spot you can like. That's a situation where you can human react to. But the guy on the other side that recorded the victim, recorded the victim, and you recorded his experience with the game, it would be like, no, that's impossible to react to. Yeah, impossible, human impossible, or by pure luck, But even that, yeah, that was one of the worst thing that just made you really mad and gave you a reason to just quit the game and never come back. I should probably switch to the improvements and what should have been done and kept. Let's go switch from all the complaining to maybe a couple concepts or a couple advices from a old player that might have worked in the past if it was done that way. I'm not saying I have a knowledge, like a ton of knowledge in like game designing and like game balancing whatnot, but there was a ton of things that as a long player, old veteran of the game, that I really wanted to see, that I waited years and years for that, like those concepts to be addressed or like to develop upon, or like made better. In the first part, in the first point for me would be the PvP PvE. Not only it was a really nice to have both of those game mods interconnected with the reward system, achievement system, weapon collections that you could get from paying operations and PvE missions and whatnot. It was a really nice system that I really liked, and it was a really interesting emphasis on the RPG side of the game. It was nice, but I personally felt like it was lacking. It was kind of lacking. It worked, but there should have been a lot more resources that you could had grinded for, had a chance to drop from just completing operations, grinding them daily, or I don't know, frequently. It would have been really nice to see. We had collections for Earthshaker, HQ, Black Shark, and whatnot. It was really nice, but it was a small sample. I would say it was a really small sample. It would have been really nice to see, to have a bigger pool of rewards that you can get from those operations for completing them over and over. A small chance to get those scarce resources, and where it's not like guaranteed. It would have been nice if it was like a small pool of like rewards that are guaranteed, and another pool of like random rewards you can get from. It would have been really nice, and that's what I honestly felt like was lacking. A lot of the time, the main problem was that not only PvE and operations required a ton of time, a ton of focus, a ton of work to complete a lot of the time, especially if you're not like, if you don't have a pre-configured, like a pre-assembled team to go through that operation. Because a lot of the time, some of them, especially with harder difficulties, they were limited. You really had to actually have some type of weapon, some type of equipment to go through, and the skill and the knowledge. So it would have been really nice to develop upon that reward pool, that RPG system where you have to actually grind, and you have a chance to actually drop something interesting or something scarce for the prestige of it, or maybe actually usable. That would have been really, really nice to see. Bigger weapon collections, equipment collections from dedicated operations. It would have been really nice. Same thing for PvP. If there was a really, really like progression based, I mean, we had all the arsenal and whatnot from where you could drop weapons, whatnot. It was a really nice system. I personally liked it. But if it was more on one side where it's like linear progression, and on the other side where the pool of weapons that you could get for like, it's like a random progression based, it would have been really nice to see. Same thing for PvP, PvE operation. It would have been really, really nice to see a bigger pool of rewards, collection, weapon, equipment, skins, resources, items, whatnot. It would have been really interesting. There was a really good groundwork for that. There was a really good fundamental work on it, but it was, I felt like it was kind of lacking. Like I said, really good concept, a really good groundwork, like a really good foundation to actually like improve from that. But yeah, felt like a real lack of diversity, especially with the weapons and whatnot. We have a really nice, huge pool of weapons and whatnot in the game to make a collection. It's really nice. But if there was like pretty much locked down to certain operations, certain conditions to get them, and they had a certain lore behind it, it would have been a lot better. But yeah, whatever. Second point for me would be the major amount of equipment and items and all the equipment, weapon, skins, and whatnot should have been the major part dedicated for free to play. And I don't mean just in number, but in quality too, because yeah, it's nice to actually have like 8 new weapons every half of the year. But like if 8 of them are just dog shit, really bad, and there's only like 2 pay-to-win weapons that you can actually get and are good for PvE and PvP, it's not interesting. You might have the quantity, but not the quality. A good balance between feeding the free-to-play side of the players and pay-to-win side would have been really nice. A 70 to 30% would have been a really good rule in my opinion, or maybe like even 60 to 40%. Not just in quantity, like I said, but in quality, where you can actually grind for those weapons, get them, and with a good amount of grind, maybe compete with other people that have some amount of like pay-to-win. I'm not saying that free-to-play should be always overpowering the pay-to-win side. That's not what I'm saying. Have a good balance between both of them, where some people that grinded for on the free-to-play side can compete on the pay-to-win side, and vice versa. Inverse after a couple months, maybe, and switch the polarity time to time. It would have been really nice to see. Not only it would have gave a real reason for people to play, to grind for, and know that their own effort and time will be rewarded by the end. Not just through quantity with weapons that you'll never use because they are really bad, because they are really, really bad. Like actually, some amount of players like to collect, yes, makes sense, but there's a good amount of, like a good chunk who likes to collect and use those weapons. But if the major part of your collection is unusable, where's the reason to even collect in the first place? And that's the main problem that I had with the game, and my friends had with the game too. They like the weapons, but a lot of the time, usable weapons are locked behind the paywall. Good luck. And it's not interesting, and it's not guaranteed that you'll have them too. You gotta have chance. Maybe you might get it in 5 boxes, maybe in $10, maybe $50, or you might even use $200 and never get that weapon. Good luck. And you feel powerless against that. When, as a player, you know that you don't have the control and the hand over the return or like the final decision, it's not interesting. You might persevere for like some amount of time, but when that idea that you don't have control is repetitive over the years, you're just gonna switch to something else because there's other games who actually knows how to like make those systems better, feel better, be a lot more enjoyable, and have like certain systems that are not present in Warface that are better than Warface on the side of the grind, on the side of the performance, PvP, and whatnot. If you don't improve upon what you have currently, is like it makes sense that later you're just gonna get left behind. You might have whales on your game, you might have the impression that, okay, the game is kind of surviving because there's people frequently playing and paying whales. Okay, why not? It's nice. But if the major part, the most frequent part of the player base, see no reason to persevere, if like the major part of your player base already knows that it's futile to even continue, they have no reason to continue. And that's the amount of like impending doom, over the like free-to-play community of the game. It's the impending doom that anyways it's useless because by the end you'll have to pay to compete. Good luck, Yeah, and that's the part of like the free-to-play player base. It's an impending doom that everyone sees that at a certain point you'll have to pay. It makes sense that at a certain point, even a free-to-player pays. Maybe for a VIP, why not? A certain weapon that he really enjoys, why not? But if it's not due to personal choice but being forced to, because if you want to compete with other people, you have to pay. It's not interesting. Why the hell would you even interact in a system that is rigged from the beginning if you can just say, I'm not going to participate and I'll go search like somewhere else? It's the same as going to a shop. If you go to like into a shop to buy something and you see that in that specific shop, the freaking entire collection of items are heavily overpriced, and they are not even that great of a quality, by the end. And that person, when you turn back and try to exit, the store manager is like actually kind of obfuscated, and the store manager is like kind of offended that you just looked at the items and walked out. It makes sense. Why the hell would you even go into that if there's like maybe like 100 meters down the road, there's another shop, better prices, and better quality check, quality control. Like, damn, it's not my problem. I'm gonna just go search elsewhere, man. That's the same thing with games. If in a game you don't feel like your time is respected and not rewarded enough, which was a huge problem that we had in Warface, especially with everyone, there's no reason to even continue. And it was just an impending doom, And it's not like the Russian culture where like the game is and it's not like everyone knows the game, in Europe or America, you know? It's not like in Russian culture where like the game is just national, everyone knows what Warface is, which is the main issue. You're not that guy, you have to scale down. You have to actually be humble and understand that you cannot compete. You have to scale down, get humble, and what was kind of lacking in this game, you know? But yeah, having a major item collection for free to play would have been really nice for grind, and apart for pay to win, not only in a quantity, not only in a quantity side, but like quality side too. The actual system that we have with skins or weapons and the actual character skins, it's pretty nice, but it should have been developed upon. Having a way to actually have precise colors for your weapons, having specific skins for the characters that you can grind for as a free-to-play player, or maybe lock a good majority. Like in this one, where it's not pay to win, you can lock maybe 80%, 80% behind the paywall, and 20% for the free-to-play. No, it's really nice. 20 for free-to-play, 80 for like all the pay to win. Really nice skins, really nice, nice looking, sexy looking skins that are interesting to use, you know? For weapons, for characters and whatnot, it's really nice to see. And like in this case, having the majority like of the item collection being dedicated to the pay to win side, paywall side, makes sense, you know? It's not an issue. But yeah, that should have been, it should have been a lot more, there should have been a lot more skins in the game. That's something that I feel personally like are lacking. Should be a huge diversity of skins for people. But yeah. Fourth point would be the weapon and equipment scarcity. A good chunk, what I really disliked in the old days, was the fact that at a certain point they reintroduced the Scar H, the Calico, to the shop. While before they done that, it was a huge, like those weapons were scarce, rare, and legendary. If you sat down and you saw someone else use the Black Tower or the Calico, you knew that this guy was an old player from a certain time, you know. It would have made sense to reintroduce the same weapon, maybe new collection, new design, or reskin to differentiate the original spot where like the old players got it, and a new reintroduction later on, like a couple of years after. It would have made sense to have a difference between the old and the new. It would have been really nice, you know, to know that certain people got it like a couple of years after, and select few got it like at the beginning. But yeah, voila. But having a good system of scarcity for the equipment and weapon, having legendary weapons that you know will never come back, and you know that you have only one chance or maybe like 2 or 3 chances in your playtime to get them, it would have been amazing, you know. It's amazing. I know you cannot, in that case, you can't really monetize those weapons and reintroduce them to the shop and whatnot. I understand that. But it's a really good sacrifice to give a lore, to give like an activity to the game, an interaction. Not just, oh, voila, let's go, you got a new weapon, guess what, it was just a weapon that we introduced like 4 years ago. Wow, interesting, nice. A redesign, a reskin, or maybe a new collection from a new collection, a reintroduction of the old weapon, why not? But not the original one, like a brand new. Like reintroducing like it's a brand new, it's not. On the 5th point, I would say that leaving the player preferences, the choice, especially in the menu in graphical redesign, would have been really nice. Right now, whenever I boot up Warface, it's not Warface for me, it's a mobile game. That menu is trying to be something that it's not personally. There's an attempt to cover like an old project with just like adding small sparkles of gold, you know, a thin layer of gold. Wow, like whatever you do, it will not go together. It's not gonna blend. When I ask my friends that played in the old days, or like some people that played a couple times the game, and now when they see the redesign of the menu, not only sometimes they're lost, but the major part is the fact that it lost all its original soul of the old menus, which looked pretty nice in my opinion. They were like straight. You knew where what was. It made sense. It had its own soul. It was nice to look at. The one now, it seems that there's an attempt to be modern or modern redesign, like it's a new game. It's not. It's the same Warface from 2014. It's the same one. There's a couple of changes, yes, but it's the same. And it's not just by changing the menu that it's gonna be a brand new game. And right now it seems like it's a mobile game, like a ripped off mobile game, especially with that menu. It's and honestly, it's like kind of a good design, but it looks really bad. Looks really bad. I know everyone's gonna say, yeah, it's subjective, I personally like it and whatnot. But if you sit down and think about it, it lost its own soul. The old menu should have been improved upon, why not? Modernized a little bit, but not a redesign in the entirety where even your arsenal changes, the play menu changes, the achievement thing changes. It's like you can see the attempt to modernize something that is not, which is kind of sad. But yeah, leaving the preference to the player to choose between the old one and the new one, it would have been really nice too. Everyone would have their own part of the pie, you know, like they would be really, everyone would have their own choice in choosing the new one or the old one. That would have been the best outcome. The worst outcome was to lock down the choice and be like, you. And the worst outcome was to just lock down the entire like preference of players and be like, no, you don't have the choice. It's the new one, nothing else. It was a really, really bad choice. And lastly, the last point, the last point for me would be the weapon system redesign, where now, like a couple of years before, they introduced the modding system, the grinding, the levels, where weapons had a little more depth to them. Certain weapons were actually like, you will be able to grind them, get mods, change how they act, totally reshape how certain weapons work, if they are good or bad, and it's a really good system. It's a really good system. But the problem, imagine right now, that it was introduced too late, and with the fact that imagine you actually bought a ton of pay-to-win weapons and whatnot, tralala, blah, blah, blah. After years and years, you collected all that, and there's a huge redesign, system redesign, and you have the impression that, okay, now does not seem like much difference between free-to-playing and pay-to-winning my weapon. Like my collection, I have a ton of weapons, but I have to grind them all now. In the old days, I may be like, I don't know, for the Scar H Gold, I may be like, you paid like $200 to get it because it's your favorite weapon in real life, and you got the gold version, amazing. And you come back to the game, there's a redesign, and you have the impression that you have to now play hours, dozens of hours for that weapon and grind it. Okay, no, hell no, I'm not gonna do that. And that's the main problem. It was introduced too late, and I'm pretty sure that a certain amount of like the player base really, really hated that, and certain amount really loved that because it's a redesign. It balances out both sides, free to play and pay to win. It's really nice. I personally liked it, but I feel like it's really late, too late. It would have been nice if it was introduced like 6 years ago, but yeah, not even 6 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. Yeah, damn, this the game is old, 12 years, holy shit. But yeah, that redesign, weapon system redesign with mods, grind, it's really nice. A little bit more diverse in the mods, why not? Would have been really interesting to see. Uh, there's certain weapons where you cannot grind them, you cannot mod them, which is kind of sad. Like some of those weapons that I personally like to use, you feel like, okay, you cannot grind them and they do not perform that well in game. That practically becomes trash, you know. I'm not saying that it should be like a perfect system where everything has to be like usable and perform well. That's not what I'm trying to say, but it's kind of sad to come back to a old collection and be like, okay, this weapon I like it, but guess what? You can't even grind it, and it does not really perform well in game too, which is kind of sad. But whatever, it's a really good design, kind of late though, kind of sad. So after all that complaining and imaginary scenarios, what's next? The endpoint? What's the endpoint? What's gonna happen? I personally don't know. I think it's too early to even talk about this, but in my opinion, it's gonna be either of three choices. First one's gonna be probably a silent exit from the studio. No new information, even after we die, nothing new. It's gonna just fade out, disappear. The Russian is gonna continue. Makes sense. It's actually really alive, you know, so nothing to complain about. But this one, the first chance, the biggest chance is just a silent exit, fade into the darkness and disappear. It's gonna be really sad after 13 years, 13, 12, something like that. 12 years at this point. Yeah, so silent disappearance. Second one, small chance. Someone buys the project, get a new publisher. Would be really interesting to see. I really want to see that. I'm not talking about like anything related to Moel.ru or even Crytek at this point. Maybe another studio. It would be really nice to see, interesting to see, with a good vision for the game, you know. But main problem, guess what? It's a very small percent chance. It's a very small chance that it happens. Not only people will not even attempt to tarnish their own reputation by buying this freaking project, trying to maintain it, which kind of makes sense in this climate of like games and whatnot. But we'll see. It's a very small chance that it happens. It's kind of sad. Sadly, like I said, I really want to see someone else attempt someone else's attempt, and I'll give a try. Honest to God, I think a ton of people like me, if you really want to hear this, a ton of people that play this game will give it a second chance. Not a second chance, maybe an eighth chance, or I don't know, maybe a 20th or like 100th chance, and see someone else's attempt. It would be really nice to see a new idea, a new person's attempt. It would be really nice to see. But I won't blame anyone if they don't want to risk tarnishing their own reputation by trying to manage this this project. Makes sense. And the third option, which is a probably non-existent chance it happens, the game binaries or a way is introduced to probably community host, peer-to-peer, or server-based binaries or something, a framework available for the player base to host themselves, so that they can actually kind of keep it as an archive to play together time to time, and just keep the dreams of certain people going, you know? Because you have to take in account that even if you think about it, there is a chunk of people who died waiting to see the continuation of Warface. It's fucking sad to say. Probably in the people that I knew personally on this game, that I saw playing, that I played with, that I played against, they played this game for years and years, waiting to see something new, something better, and they died. Humanly died. I'm not talking about it's not a figure of speech or something. I'm not trying to be like, I'm talking about physically in real life, died. It's sad. It's really sad. And what would be even sadder is to let down the dreams of other players of the player base by not releasing anything and just closing the project and making it dead. Just an old fading memory that people will be able to watch from YouTube or images or maybe old records. And that's fucking sad if you really think about it. It's actually making me sad right now. I would personally say that it would be really nice if there's a chance to let people self-host and play with other people. That's all. But the problem with it is that they're not gonna risk it, because if it's released to the public, there's probably gonna be people trying to monetize the shit out of self-hosting the freaking servers, or I don't know what the fuck they're trying to do. And there's gonna be a ton of issues with the IP. People like normal citizens trying to monetize a huge project like that, infringement of IP, copyright, and whatnot, illegal shit and all that, which makes sense. Makes sense. And then in a way or another, it makes sense, but it does not make sense too, because if you are probably hosting the server and you're paying for electricity bill or the material cost, it kind of makes sense that you should be able to monetize, maybe not in game, but a certain way, because the way that this person is actually providing his service and hosting the server for other players makes sense that he should get some amount of like monetary compensation. It's not wild to say, it's not crazy to say. Everyone's service, everyone's value that they provide should at a certain point be rewarded. Same way that when you play a game, same thing. But huge companies like that, they don't want to hear that. I don't think Warface managers and directive, all those like highly placed people want to hear that. Kinda, it's a fact. It's not something that we cannot just acknowledge. We cannot just bypass that. If it's released, there's gonna be attempts. But if it's released, but I mean, if they release it anyways, it's a huge respect to the community, to the players themselves. They show that they care. They do not release it, and it just fades in the darkness. It's gonna be a silent response, louder than anything that they might say. Sometimes it's not about what you're saying, but what you didn't say, if it makes sense, you know. The way that you avoid certain talks tells a ton. And in this case, there's no talk about anything. It's it's a really loud response. It says something. We will see. The end point is this. This is gonna be a really long video. It's more like a fucking podcast at this point, but yeah, I'll try to keep it really like down in terms of edit and whatnot. It's not the usual video you'll see on my channel, but this is I didn't want to post things like that on this channel, but this requires it. My thousands of hours on this game required it. Even if I didn't like respect that much this game, I have some amount of respect to actually say kind of a goodbye to the project. Kind of sad, you know. If you really think about it, 5,000 hours, so many memories, so many friendships. There's maybe like 60% of like the people that I know right now that are from this game. We played together. We played from this game, we played other games and became real life friends, which is kind of wild to think about it. And the people that are gonna listen to maybe this video might be some people from the team, might be from the Warface team or whatnot, made the decision to close and whatnot. This is honestly a really, like, it's really sad. Like, actually, I cannot like describe. It's not just nostalgia, it's just like pure sadness, you know, to see this just fade in the darkness. Russian Warface is not an alternative for me. It was never, because mainly the problems that I have with the game are heavily emphasized in the Russian. And in the Russian, it's not like they are doing that by mistake. They are doing that on purpose. None of those problems are still present in the Russian, which is, like I said, not an alternative for me. I know Russian, I can speak Russian, I can play the Russian, I can have fun on the Russian, yes. It's just, I'm an adult right now, I'm a responsible adult who knows that made a choice to not persevere, and I'm not gonna persevere. That's the choice that I made 3 years ago. I'm still not playing the game. You should, as a human being, understand that whenever you are not respected, you should just exit. That's what I've done with the game. A little bit late, because when I started to play the game was when I was really young. So by the end of the day, I just learned how to be to respect myself, you know. But yeah, like I said, a small tangent, but yeah, it's kind of sad to see this project just fade in the darkness. Hopefully, it will not. Maybe finding a solution to not totally close this game would be amazing. It would actually keep the keep the dreams of so many kids that grew up with this game. Kids, bruh. There's fathers, mothers, sisters, brothers that grew up with this game. So yeah, I think the people that listen to this consciously understand how heavy it is for certain people. See this just fade in the darkness. Yeah, so it's wild to see, but sadly, it was inevitable, and I knew that. Whatever, unlucky. But yeah, we'll see. I'll still be looking at some amount of content from on the Russian side, and maybe certain posts and whatnot. But yeah, we'll see. So, anyways, thanks for listening to my rumble bumble about me complaining for 30 minutes. My futile attempt probably to even share this, you know. Yeah, it's not really about any views, any like YouTube content. It's just about the memories in the long run, because I know that in a couple of years, in a year, maybe in 6 months, maybe in 2 years, 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, people will still remember this game and might stumble across my video, or might stumble across old content from Warface. It's wild, really wild. Thanks for listening. If you want to see more content from me, just subscribe to the channel. Thanks to everyone, and see you. Have a great day.